was there, you have to produce no particular activity. That's more difficult than with your hand.
Well, it'll be challenging for Lori in Tokyo. This is really.
I think another challenge is that when you're physically active and emotions are running high, you can translate it into more activity hits the opposite. You have to stay calm and let your mind do that.
And this is a brilliant performance from the Italian, definitely in the chase for the medals.
And we are back here in the architecture building at ETH, currently back together with Nico Mendel. I didn't know that painting is so excited.
You can imagine what the excellence of right? And you can see something really frustrating when you try to take a photo and you go down and you can see, so obviously that makes it very nice also for the spectators to watch.
And also let me know if I was bound to decide to get for all the time. We should not get anyways. That's very hard to do.
Exactly, so it's really about sending this command, and you know how you do that. So for example, if you go into a left turn, the pilots, they would imagine that they move their left hand, so they try to generate the feeling of opening and closing. And of course, when you are stuck, then the thing is, don't try harder, just calm down and try to do what you did all the time. And I think that is very hard.
We can look at one of the parts where there is some guy pilots from Austria classical creating actually comes into the side of the time. Nico, you see him out on the right side. What is he doing now? What is he thinking right at the moment?
So what you might also realize is that headlights are on, so that is really a misunderstanding between the BCI and the pilot. So BCI has understood to switch on the light while the pilot, which is wrong. While the pilot tries to go to the left. So what he has to do is stay calm and try to really focus on his strategy to send the command go left. And most likely he will imagine to do something with the left hand in his hand without moving any muscle in the body.
That's very important. Now, we saw Pascal Pichler in that video, and we have some more information about pilot from Austria.
Ik zit bij het signaal in Roosje, door de kerstverhaal, met een van 60 zo'n Dus ik is dan van met genoegspelen te schrijven.
We've been working with Pascal Pascal for 1.5 years. He is a highly competitive person. In fact, some of his best performances were training by competitive average settings.
En so wollte ich auch mit dem Training nur besser werden und besser sein kann.
And here we are at great race, and all the great team. What do you think about the Austrian team?
Well, so the Austrian team is very, very experienced with this technology. It's very well known in the scientific field. So it will be really exciting to see how they further progress in this.
If you want to know more about these teams, about the Austrian team, the British team, or all the others, go to our website, www.cybathlon.com, to get a lot of information there from all the teams. And now we have a little break. Don't go away. You should stay with us because we're going to find out what teams will be the best race. So 1 minute and we'll be.
Für mich hat die Zukunft eine Explosion. In dieser Hinsicht ist EKZ für mich ein verlässlicher Partner.
Zuverlässig, ökologisch und günstig mit Strom versorgt. EKZ, stolzer Partner des Cybathlon.
Cybathlon moves people and technology. Showtest Clinic is medical partner.
I'm gonna.
Switch to Cybathlon.
Yeah.
And then I go to live stream.
마비로 인해가지고 옷을 입고 싶고
On
먹고
YouTube,
싶은
on Cybathlon
스스로 나온 옷을 직접 만들어가지고
Cybathlon.com.
그분들한테 할 수 있는 기회를 주는 게 목표고
Goes to that, yeah.
Welcome back. Here we're in the middle of the BCI races, right? Computer interface races. We have already seen a few races, some parts of the races, but as you know, Cybathlon has 6 disciplines. For example, this is what you can expect after
Let's left the slowly changing implement tasks with a perspective.
They're using other lecture.
Where?
That's what the other lecture. The next one. Yes.
It's on competition. Watching Black Hole.
Yeah, orange first is what you don't see in the next hour. But for example, the haptic box is where we just started.
Yeah, but you already got the build document uploaded on the computer.
This one cube or the cylinder, and the pilots have to find out if it's hard or soft, if it's the ball or square.
So the computer was going to way to do the kick on that too.
We go back to the BCI race and our expert, Nico Vanderhoff, professor.
Why is PhD not on Facebook?
Very, very impressive for me that the pilots can steer the outdoor only. But if you talk a little bit about it, what thoughts are they? How do they think like, do they think you're So this is really to think like a command in language, they don't do that, that would be very difficult to be followed on the technology. So most teams will imagine some forms of movement, and very often it will be something of the left hand to go left, right hand to go right. And then probably something like the feet or mouse movements to switch on the background. And the trick is that when you imagine these different movements, you're trying to create the feeling as if you were to move your hand. That activates very different parts of your brain, and these different patterns, they can be detected and then analyzed by the BCI. That sounds very hard for me, for my brain. For example, if my brain doesn't get enough sleep and it doesn't work the same as if it gets a lot of sleep, is that something that bothers the pilots as well, the sleep, or just if it's a good day, not a good day? Yeah, everything. Because one thing that is really important, the way how we try to measure these signals from the outside, these are tiny signals we try to pick up upon, and that is really a difficulty. So everything that is different from normal, that will make the communication much more difficult. That can be the pilot for not sleeping well or being nervous or other things, but it can also be the environment where we have a lot of electromagnetic noise around us, and this can also be picked up by the technology, and then it's very hard to understand these commands of the pilots. You said the commands can be just thinking of moving the right hand or the left hand, so actually everybody can do it. That's correct, and I mean everybody can try it. So one thing that is nice, so for example, if you close your eyes, you can imagine that you move your head back into the neck and down to your chin, and you try to really feel these movements. So if people do that at home right now, they might realize why they are doing that. They are involuntarily moving their eyes, because that is a sign that you are really immersed in your imagination, if you like. And that is a sign that you are doing that very actively and very vividly. So everybody is trying at home now to do things. We have 6 teams competing in the BCI race, and here's our next team from China.
Stop. What race?
China.
I just speak in Chinese. thought it was one of you guys.
Yeah, second.
The Chinese team, which is so Nico, China, are they specialized in BCI?
Actually, there are a lot of colleagues in China that are working on the technological aspect of the BTI technology, but I think the all facing the challenge to do that into a situation that is taken from real life. To control something in real time, something that it's not predictable, it's like in some instances, and that's the challenge.
We've seen a few races, and now we want to know what 4 teams will make it to the final. Here's a summary of the first races.
It's probably nervousness. Many of the 7 starting pilots drive into the wall right after the start. Already after a few seconds occurs the first crash. Almost no team manages without a mistake shortly after the start. Not even Francesco Vitella from the Tenant team WHI is expected to win the race. Francesco is a real sportsman as a swimmer. He has already won 2 silver medals at Paralympic Games. What's more, his team has a lot of competition experience. For example, they won the BCI series in Graz a year ago. So a lot can be expected from this team. And indeed, Francesco is fast on the move. Next top 4, the headlights.
Taking the brainwave capabilities into
The other side is command never breaks. Luckily for him, not much time is wasted. Is
just he's looking like a bloody horse.
GQ Ma makes very active use of the headlights. She's the pilot of the Chinese team Phoenix from Hong Kong. Her use of the headlight is almost invasive. Even in the curves, she turns on the headlight. A wrong command that slows down the avatar. For this team, participating itself is most important. 4 years ago, GQ Ma was hindered to get on the plane because of her wheelchair and therefore could not participate. This year she can, but she barely reaches the finish line. After 439 meters, the time is up. She lands on place 7. Speaking of headlights, this is also a challenge for Samuel Kuhns from the SEC FHG team. The command works well, but Samuel often turns on the headlights a bit too early. So he also loses important seconds. He makes it into the top 4, even if he sometimes doesn't manage the corners at all. Owen Cobb, on the other hand, shows a perfect turn. He drives absolutely clean through corner 4. We have rarely seen such beautifully driven turns. Owen starts from the British team Euroconcise from Northern Ireland, which already participated in the Cybathlon 4 years ago. Back then, it was just another game. But the experience doesn't help the team much today. Owen experiences a lot of trouble on the whole course. After 452 meters, his race is over. Not enough to reach the top 4, he lands in place 6, a disappointment for Owen. The new headlight command introduced this year, it is that big difficulty for many teams. Probably because this command is about reaction. The Thai team Mahindra BCI Lab with pilot Kriyan Krai Takadi is also struggling. He often seems to give many orders at once. The avatar struggles. But he is fast. The Thai team qualifies for the top 4. Who else can do it? 2 experienced teams still have ambitions. One is Team Mirage 91 from Austria. This team was already in 2016 and ended up on the last place. Back then with pilot Gerhard Kleinhofer. This year is going well. Pilot Pascal Pietler masters especially the straight parts very well. He makes it to the finish line in the time of 3 minutes and 42 seconds. But too bad for him, he's not fast enough for the top 4. So there's still the Russian team Eurobotics with pilot Bogdan Murik. This team was also part of the Cybathlon 4 years ago, and they benefit from their experience. Ruslan drives beautiful cars, but sometimes has trouble with the headlights. He makes it into the top 4. Here's the ranking. The Chinese and the British team didn't make it to the finish line and therefore didn't make it into the top 4. The Austrian team makes it to the finish line, but its time is not fast enough. The top 4 pilots are in alphabetical order. Qualified are the favorite Francesco Vettel, as well as Kiankai Takati, Ruslan Yuli, and Cyril Kutz. They all made it to the finish, but who was the fastest? We can reveal this much. It was a thriller, which only a few seconds decided the victory.
Yeah, we're back here with Nico. When you think of 4 teams made it to the final, how surprised are you that those 4 teams made it?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, actually. So when you saw the performance already in the first races, you saw some of them were really very strong, and the navigating this course very, very well.
We saw a few teams that struggled with the turns, so they bumped into the wall all the time. Why is this?
Yeah, it's really sending the wrong command to the interface. So as it was very well explained, so sometimes the headlights are going on, even though you want to take a quick turn. So there's also a trick in the technology, because something you do is you can determine how quickly these commands are sent and updated, and you have to find a good balance between having enough time to reliably decode what's going on, but still being fast enough to not miss that you have to initiate a turn, that you have to switch on the headlights in particular.
We have 4 teams in the final. One is from Russia. Let's have a look at that team. The Russian team. What do you know about them?
Yeah, I think the Russian team is one that I don't know so much about, so I could say a very determined pilot in the pre-races.
Now, all the teams that use the electroencephalography, the EEG, which measures the brain, causes the brain to the computer. But there's also another way actually to do BCI. Can you tell us more about your system?
So there are actually 2 systems. So one is where you basically shine a light through the skull to try to measure what's going on in the brain. And the principle there is that your cells that produce these activities, they have to be, they need blood supplies, they need nutrients, and that changes a little bit the property of the blood vessels and the blood that is brought to these brain areas. And there is a method where you can pick that up when you shine a light through the skull, because actually the reflection of that light changes depending on the properties of the blood. But in adults with very thick skull, that is very difficult to decode the good signal.
Very interesting. Now, of course, the whole team is important, but we have some pilots that are very special. For example, Francesco Vettel from Italy, from team WHI, and we have a closer look at Francesco.
Mi sempre molto significativo perché mi ha sempre dato un senso di libertà e di leggerezza e non avevo credo un corpo. È una cosa appunto che ho sempre provato da quando sono andato veramente vicina dal piccolo fino adesso quando vengo nella trasmissione. Mi sembra che mi piace il fatto che ci siano molti ricercatori da tutto il mondo che mettono la propria passione, il proprio lavoro nello sviluppo di tecnologie che possono dare una mano alle persone, tecnologie molto futuristiche, ancora con gli stadi iniziali, che però potrebbero dare una persona. SIAE è ancora all'inizio, ma io credo che con lo sviluppo e grazie anche alle competizioni come Cybathlon possa portare molte innovazioni e penso alla possibilità di comprare una carrozzina con altri dispositivi anche da parte di persone che molte limitazioni a livello fisico e quindi questo potrebbe essere sicuramente un grosso aiuto per tutte queste persone. Ma il segreto è rimanere calmi, concentrati, non spendere la situazione quando succederà le prime prove, non avere l'ansia di vedere che il sistema risponde subito ai comandi, non avere molta pazienza e concentrazione e capire quali pensieri poi effettivamente fanno andare con un flusso pensiero. L'emozione più forte è anche quella più concreta, però a casa sono sicuramente le due medaglie d'argento che ho vinto.
Francesco Bettella, the Italian BCI pilot, and Nico, we saw him swimming, he's a swimmer as well, he's a sportsman, he does quite a few things. How much does sports help for the BCI?
Yeah, so you really need this competitive mindset, because actually to control a BCI is practice, 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 and practice. And one thing Francesco explained very nicely, so we're building a technology to read the thoughts of the pilot, but then the pilot has to adjust to this new tool. It's like if I give you a new tennis racket, you have to learn how to use it. And that requires a lot of practice and exercise with the device, and that really helps when you're, a competitive person.
Francesco said that maybe already hopes that one day there will be that technology that he can steer maybe the wheelchair only by thoughts. How possible is that? Is that? Yeah. What do you think about that?
So I think that it's still a little bit away, and so the reason why that is very, very difficult right now is to really measure brain activity reliably from the outside. So there's a little trick for that. So you can also implant your technology right into the brain, and there you have a fantastic signal. But of course, it's very, very invasive. But when you have these invasive PCIs, I think we are very close to being able to controlling something like a wheelchair, but that is obviously not for everyone.
So it's not that we will control our computers not by mouse anymore or by thoughts. That's something far away.
Yeah, and you see, actually, you don't want that, because your body is really, it's a wonder of nature. We are so well designed to perform movements really with high accuracy and relatively effortless. And I'm really doubtful that we can ever replace that by technology where you can do it with your mind directly. Because the big challenge is to build something that is reliable. I mean, as you heard, sometimes you need to be patient until your command is picked up. And of course, when you press the button, you don't want to be patient until the button is pressed. You just do it effortless. And I think that is something we're not aware, because we're used to it until we have an accident and we lose this ability.
Thank you for this information. We have the Italian team, the team from Russia, and here is our Swiss team.
I played handball, volleyball, so competition is always on part.
The most interesting part is never to see how those ideas play out in real time and to see whether it can actually affect the emotional state of our mind when they are.
That's actually a cool picture.
The need for us is to work so closely with the pilot. It's really helping us to understand.
Yeah. This challenge is going to be invisible.
Check out all the faces together.
So this is the Swiss team, and this is actually the team of Nico Benderov. This is your team. Yeah, to ask these questions. How good is your team?
Oh,
Actually, I think
Of course.
Yeah, so we will see how good we are at today. But we were investing a lot into developing the technology, and Sammy was fantastic because he was really training, very intensively over many, many weeks and months. The problem with Corona, but that of course was the same for all other partners as well.
How exciting is it for you? How intense is it for you to watch your team compete?
Yeah, you see, for me it's the same as with Sammy. I have to say, okay, stay calm, just enjoy what's happening. So I think the semi is already very nice to be part of the Cybathlon, and the same is actually true for the team. So we are very excited to make part out of that. And if Sally has a good performance today, that is a cherry on the cake, if you know.
Cherry on the cake. We'll see what's going to happen. We're going to find out later. But now, the Cybathlon is a big success, and it was in 2013 when Professor Robert Green actually initiated the Cybathlon with the big support of ETH Zurich, of course. So we did not miss the opportunity to talk to the president of ETH Zurich. We went to the ETH main building, beautiful old building in downtown Switzerland, and we held a little chat with ETH President Joel Metal. Welcome here in the main building of ETH Zurich, actually downtown Zurich. And here's my guest. He's the president of ETH Zurich, Joel Metal. Thanks for joining us here at stage. It's my pleasure. So I know that you're personally a big fan of Cybathlon. So what is the fascination of Cybathlon for you?
Well, you know, Cybathlon is about technology, but more important, it is about I'm impressed by what the teams have achieved to be able to participate in the Cybathlon, especially in these very difficult circumstances. So, congratulations already to all the team who will participate.
And what does ETH Zurich wants to achieve with the Cybathlon?
You know, university addresses global challenges of all sorts. And we do that with education, research, technology transfer, and outreach. What is beautiful around the Cybathlon is that it addresses all these points together. It brings everything together. And the global challenge that we want to address is assistance to people who have disabilities. What we want to achieve with the Cybathlon is a world without borders.
You already mentioned you're in a very special situation at the moment. So how did you manage to organize the Cybathlon competition despite the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, first of all, it's not myself, it's a great team who organizes all this. The first Cybathlon was in Zurich, and all the teams were flying in. And now, because of the COVID situation, it wasn't possible anymore. They came up with several options. We could have postponed it to another year, and we decided to try something very ETH specific. So to be creative, to be flexible, to have an event that is distributed worldwide. And I must say, this is impressive what has been achieved. We could, thanks to the flexibility, develop a concept that had to be adapted many times because of the current situation. I realized that some teams won't be able to participate, and we regret that very much. We hope that they will continue to work for the next Cybathlon. For us, what was the most important is to have at the center to protect the health of the participants.
Very good. We're all very happy that it can actually happen, the Cybathlon. Now, pilots and the teams, they're in the center, and you have a message for the pilots and the teams. Here's your camera.
Yes. First of all, I want to congratulate you for participating in the Cybathlon. The way that you had to go through to participate in the Cybathlon is already a big success. In some sense, we can say that you are all winners of the Cybathlon already. Now, I wish you a great competition. I hope that you stay healthy and that you bring something fantastic to what could become one of the most interesting events this year. And I hope also that you will continue to work on these new technologies in the future.
Which is the president of ETH Zurich, Joel Metal. Now, he's a big fan of Cybathlon people. How important is that support from the president?
Oh, extremely, because I mean, Cybathlon, it's a big investment for ETH, but you know, also for all the professors and PhD students and other people that are participating. And it's very, very important that ETH is really, really supporting us in that endeavor. And that makes it really a lot of fun to be here on the day and finally see whether all the work we have put in, whether it will bring up and whether it will perform well.
We have 4 teams in the final in this race, and there's one team missing, the team from Thailand.
เป็นธรรมชาติของเกิดอุบัติเหตุตั้งแต่ปี2009ตอนนั้นช่วงนั้นเป็นช่างไฟฟ้าเราเป็นเสาขึ้นไปแล้วคนขายอยู่ก็โตมาพอดูใจเลยไม่ต้องมองพวกสิ่งนี้ในไฟยังปรับโดยที่ไม่ใช่ร่างกายเราใช้คำสั่งคือคอมพิวเตอร์ให้ยกแขนหรือแขนให้ยกตามความตั้งใจ100%นะครับถ้าหวังว่าที่หนึ่งครับขอแรงเชียร์แรงใจให้พวกเราด้วยนะครับแล้วเจอกันในสัปดาห์
The team from Thailand in the BCI racing goal, you know anything about that team?
I think it's also very exciting for this team. So again, we have the pilot also with a strong interest and a strong intrinsic motivation to try the technology and to perform really well. So it'll be really exciting to see what they do with one.
Very good. Now, as you know, all the teams, they have to do their races back home, but no one knows how fast they were compared to the others. So everybody is actually back home live, watching us and trying to find out who's the winner. And we can see all the teams back home watching and trying to find out who will be the winner in the BCI race. Hello everyone, now out there in the world, our teams for the BCI races we see here on the screen. And yeah, we really need to know now who's the winner in the BCI race. Here's our first trial of the Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition in the brain-computer interface race.
Brain-computer interface race top 4. It is Russia, Switzerland, Italy and Thailand, all in the hunt for the gold medal, using brain-computer interfaces to control avatars in this computer game. Now, there is Thailand on screen, that is Tian Klein Takidi, there is Muradin, the Russian, and of course Kunz for Switzerland, all focused in to try and move this avatar in the brain driver game to over 16 sections, 500 virtual meters. They're getting up to a good start for Italy, Nicole, but they must hold their focus right here in the challenge.
Exactly, so the pilots are trying to send the commands which are measured by this capsule here on their hand, and it's actually measuring electrical activity of neurons in the brain. The problem is this activity is very small to pick up, so our pilots have to try to generate really large and distinctive signals in their brain.
It's a good start for Ruslan Muradin of the Eurobombing team out of Russia. He is the early leader. Now, Samuel Kunz of Switzerland is a young gentleman you know very well, Nicole.
Exactly. Sammy is our part of our team. We're really now the technology between Switzerland and Singapore. And he participated because he loves gaming, and that is the new form of gaming he can do despite his handicap.
And of course, the aim of this technology is to be able to control devices like digital webcams for people with limited ability to move. And this is taking it to a competitive level. Leader Ruslan Muradin has got off to a flying start. There goes the headlights on. That's one of the tests as well. But there is the first small mistake from the left. You can clearly see that.
Yeah, so you see, this is the problem if you are in a competition, to still send this clear commands in your brain, even though you might be a little bit emotionally excited or you try to perform really well.
It's an incredibly close race with just a few seconds, 2-3 seconds, separating these 4 pilots, all looking for the first gold medal of Cybathlon 2020. Takadi should get 3 seconds off the pace for Macedon BCI laboratory.
That is very good. Francesco is really, he's cruising along. Excellent performance.
He's got the line, he's really got a good rhythm here. The focus is on the first little waver from that optimum line that really does have those seconds wiggle away. But Francisco really is looking very strong here. And this could be a goal for the Italian. He can keep this focus going.
That's still a good
A little bit of work to do. It's so close, it's just a second off the pace here. Takadi in the second position so far, looking for a good finish, looking to try and close down the Italian lead. And here comes Francisco Hotel. In second position with a Takagi. Looks like Muralin of Russia will take third with Sami Goes for Switzerland in fourth position. Here is the finishing now from Muralin. Got to hold that focus right to the line. Sami Guzic chasing for that bronze medal with the Russian pilot. But I think the Russian has just done enough to hold off Switzerland's Sami Guzic. What a race! And it is confirmed that Ruslan Muralin has taken third position. There he is crossing the line with Goose, our fourth and final competitor, still with a very impressive performance. What a tight race! But it is Francesco Vitella of Italy who takes the gold. With silver and bronze for Russia. Good performance from Sami Guns, but it is the Italians that celebrate with the win today.
The PCI race is really well done. With that masked Francesco Vitella from Italy. Great race, Nico, what do you think?
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I think Francesco had a fantastic performance. If you looked at his time, he was really extremely fast. But it was also very exciting. Certainly also fighting for the third position, very tight. Only a few seconds difference between Sami and the Russian competitor. So I think it was spectacular to watch.
We have looked at the reactions of the teams where during the race, actually when they found out who's the winner here, Francesco, when he finds out that he's the winner, he was watching very closely. I want to know afterwards how bad was this for him to watch. Now he realizes he's the winner, Francesco Vitella from Italy. It's great to see that those guys have so much passion, they're so excited that they're in front, and he's walking around in the house now and telling everybody, I'm the winner. That's how it has to be. So that's our first race PCI, and I think we had a look at the results. Right now we have on fourth place the Swiss team from Vico Vendero. That's a little disappointing.
No, I think it's still a very good performance to make it to the final. And let me just mention, it's not a purely Swiss team. We worked together with colleagues in Singapore from NTU University. So we had more than transatlantic cooperation here. So I think we're all very happy that we made it that far.
And we have the Russians on third place, and the Thai and Francesco Vitella on first place. And we try now to go to Francesco Vitella live. I asked Francesco, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Francesco, congratulations, what a great race. How was it for you?
Thank you. Very exciting. Until the end, we were very scared.
Yeah, we saw you actually watching.
For this race.
We actually saw you watching. You were really concentrated. I want to ask, how high was your heart at that moment?
Very high. But so everything to stay calm and breathe deeply and concentrating on my classes.
I just actually realized, I'm sorry for that, it was your manager who was watching, not yourself. Why did you watch the race like that? So why didn't you watch it by yourself? You were too scared?
Secondo la tua decima, perché ho visto quello solo che quello delle nonostante.
Okay, you were very well. Two different rooms, of course. Yeah, so Francesco, everyone else, Francesco is the one in the middle. So what are you gonna do now? Do you want to have a party?
We are celebrating the station of topics, but yes, we are trying to our best.
Very good. I say congratulations again. Thank you very much for joining us here live at Cybathlon 2020. Nico, it's a great win. Absolutely. If we look back at like 4 years ago was the first Cybathlon, now the second one. What were the greatest progresses that the teams made within these 4 years? Thank you very much, Nico and girls, for being with us as our expert in the BCR race. This was our first competition at this year's Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition. The next race will be the powered prosthesis race. So make sure you do not run away too far and come back as soon as you can. We have a little break and we'll be right back.
Success isn't just about what you accomplish in your life. It's about what you inspire others to do. Live your version of freedom of movement. We support our pages for a lifetime. You for you. You for Switzerland. For everyone who wants to watch more. The new streaming platform featuring Swiss films, series, and documentaries, all in your language. Stream anytime, anywhere. Stream Switzerland. Learn Swiss. Discover everything Switzerland has to offer.
You are able to really learn what our pilots are going to experience in everyday life. There's many challenges that we don't foresee, and therefore the feedback we get from the pilots for these different procedural devices that we are researching and developing is really crucial. A lot of the times we've been in different versions of the research we've done in the past. We would produce many things in hand, and the feedback we got from the activities were only because of what it looks like, what it is able to do and stuff, but functionality is software important. So we're going to change our view of how we do our research. So that this essentially is about functionality, and we have also times when we're trying to make it also look good. So
Get on with this, man.
I can't exactly see, right?
Grüezi miteinander, welcome back to this Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition. We're in the second hour. Welcome back everyone who was already watching, and welcome everyone who just joined us. We're here in the architecture building at ETH Vancouver, the beautiful campus of ETH Zurich, a little bit above the city. We are here and doing our live view here. So we are at the second part of this year's Cybathlon competitions. The second competition will be the arm prosthesis race. And you can already see here a few of these tasks the pilots have to do. Because as you know, because of the pandemic situation, teams could not come to Switzerland and compete live against each other. But everybody had to do their courses, their part moved back home. They recorded it, sent us to Zurich, and we're gonna put it all live together now. It was a big effort, but we're so happy that Cybathlon 2020 can still happen right now here in Zurich and all over the world. We had 40 9 teams in 20 countries, and everyone is watching us. It's subtitled into 7 different languages. It's translated into sign language. So it's a really, really big thing. Thanks to all the teams who are with so much passion are here and do their research and come to us here at the Cybathlon. We have, as I said, 20 countries, 49 teams from all over the world. And yeah, it's a very special thing actually that you can do the Cybathlon training. So if you have never heard about Cybathlon and you're not sure what is it all about, this will help.
Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition. An event where pilots with disabilities and technology developers perform at their best. Who will win? Over 50 teams take part from countries around the globe. Who has developed the best technology together with their pilot? Competitions are held in 6 separate disciplines. It's all about solving tasks of everyday life. In the Panadol prosthesis race, the pilots with an amputation or dysmelia have to manipulate and feel hidden objects with their prosthetic arms. In the power exoskeleton race, pilots with a paralysis of the legs have to master a course with exoskeletons. And in the powered wheelchair race, pilots with a walking disability must even maneuver their robotic wheelchairs over stairs. In the PCI discipline, the pilots with a paralysis at the leg level compete in a computer game using only the power of thought. In the powered prosthesis race, pilots with a above-knee amputation or dysmelia use prosthetic legs to overcome everyday obstacles. And in the functional electrical stimulation bike race, pilots ride a bike as fast as possible by applying an external current that makes their paralyzed leg muscles contract. Who will win? Required are agility, precision, concentration, and endurance. Advanced technologies can make life easier for people with disabilities. At the Cybathlon, equal opportunities are a priority. Technology, competitive spirit, and emotions. That's the Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition.
In the first part of this year's Cybathlon, we had the brain-computer interface race. In the upcoming competition will be the arm prosthesis race. I'd like to introduce now to our expert in that field. It's Michel Fornazier, who's the founder of the charity Give Children a Hand. The aim of that charity is to provide hand prostheses to physically disabled children. Welcome, very nice to you. Hi, as well. Thank you very much. Michel, you were born without a right hand. You had a prosthesis. You hold the micro with that prosthesis. You learned as a child that you can do everything with your left hand, but you're still very happy that you have your prosthesis. Why is it so important to have the right hand?
Exactly, yes, I would say it makes sense to have 2 hands.
A lot of things easier to do if you handle it actually. And I'm really blessed to have such a science fiction book that I've had since 4 years now.
4 years, yes, that's very good. People commend the race, the powered arm prosthesis race together with Nick. What are you looking forward to most?
I'm super excited about it, and I know how hard the people, the pilots actually work, and it's so crucial for them and important to get the trophy. And it's not just the Olympic spirit, just to be there. They are really competitive.
Very good. The powered arm prosthesis race is not a race actually. It's not about being the fastest from A to B or something like that, but they're tasks from daily life. How that really looks like and how does it work? Here we have some explanations for you.
This discipline is all about the art of grasping. The tool for this, an arm prosthesis. The pilots must solve 6 different tasks. This requires skill and sensitivity. Blue objects may only be touched by the prosthetic hand. Especially tricky, the haptic box. Here, the pilots have to recognize objects with a prosthetic hand that they cannot see themselves. Whoever solves the most tasks in the shortest possible time wins.
So there are quite a few tasks that pilots with their arm prostheses have to fulfill. Now, Michel, you know all of the tasks. What is the most difficult? Well, they're all pretty tricky, but I would say one of the trickiest is the magical box, I call them. You know, even if it looks like kind of simple, but just let's tell you, roll with a pen.
That was the easiest task.
Correct, actually, small things with the procedures is very important and try to do it, but it's no problem at all for you. That's the ball, that's the ball that we have to pay for it. Like, we did not train this. Yeah, so then let's challenge you a little bit. I would say that cards, the way the cards, that's a hard one. Okay, we shall even try. We did not practice, not at all, no. Let's see, maybe I can grab it like this. So we see it's very tricky. So we have to talk a little bit about that parkour. It's working with several different things. We have it on the screen now. There are 6 sections, and every section you can earn points from 14 to 20 points. Exactly. It's about 5. So we have to be pretty fast. So if 2 pilots have the same amount of points, then the time is important. 20 points you get for the haptic box, because that one is the most difficult. Yes, it's about feeling an object, and I think it's another level, another dimension, not just to touch it, or to feel it, and to tell this is what kind of shape this object has. It's, it's a challenge. Now we have many teams competing, and we have a look at the first team from Great Britain.
So what's the main idea we have in mind? We developed by years and years stage. But thanks to product teams, we managed to get a better solution.
I'm very sure that from this competition, there will be things that ultimately I will be using on a day-to-day basis, and I find very exciting and gratifying.
I think that we have an amazing team. Conrad is a fast learner, and we believe that he will perform optimally.
I'm really excited about prosthesis. I'm really looking forward to competing with it and hopefully doing very well.
They put the whole thing on top of that.
This team, the very bulky team, and we should let you know that team I think, well, I like their hand. Actually, it looks like a natural hand. It looks a little bit like Lego bricks as well, their hand. I love their hand, I love the work. They're very creative, they do a great job, and they're all kind of talented. Well, they're in good shape to do this. You mentioned the procedures, and we will see many different procedures, and that's incredible. So many different ways of doing. Exactly, even with a backpack. So the team from Germany, actually, they have a backpack, and it looks like kind of science fiction, and I'm very excited to see how they could perform. And we want to see now how the teams perform. This is the third part of our Power Department Prosthesis race at Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition.
The challenges. Delighted to have alongside us in the conference and Michel Gomez. Yay! Michel, this is a very interesting prosthesis that we'll see from the Yes, exactly. Hi, Nick. How are you today? Well, this is really impressive. It's easy. It looks a little bit like Lego bricks, kind of. But it looks like
like science fiction, like as well. And he's doing a great job with the catch. Which comes look at this opening that what's most important for all of the viewers, Michelle, is that when the items on the challenge board are blue, they set out to use the prosthesis. If it's not blue, that's right, it's something that's pretty much difficulty to handle it like this, literally to handle it, and that's quite a challenge for the athletes, for the pilots. You will see he's doing a great job, it's pretty fast. Speed is there, there's a small mistake with the sugar, and well, the camel doesn't like first time, which will add frustration, and it is a red mark. That is not a successful point score. 40 points have been missed by Conrad Wagner, and he's not happy at all about that. Because it's 1 minutes on the clock, as away goes Wagner with toss number 2, not through. We call this second toss. Now, for Pablo, it's sweated close to Blazer Buttons, and of course, t-shirt.
They complain about us for waiting 10 seconds.
Hang them over the clothesline. This looks incredibly difficult, Michelle, for the prosthesis itself to try and work with these minute laces of buttons. Exactly. Yes. As well, the part of the sweatshirt, with 2 hands, we do it like very easy, like it's a kind of task to do it, but with hand keys, it's quite a challenge. It really needs
First of all, the cost to the script.
Same point in the challenge for Christophe Boucher from Smart Sparkle. Now, this one is fascinating for me, Michelle, because it's a 2-joint prosthesis. And zipping up the hoodie looks to be pretty efficient and effective for the French pilots.
Yes, and he's quite smart because he used the plastic bag because it's so sticky. They have
We will plastic bag. It's
okay. So it's difficult to get the fingers those jackets, and he did a great job with the plastic bag. It's a smart idea. Now he's with the skis. Yes,
and they see the British pilot before us, Michelle, he's picked up a red mark. He scored no points in the first of the 6 challenges. So the pressure is on Christophe here to pick up his first point score, as he's already coming just shy of 3 minutes. Now, here he goes. Laces over, couple of buttons tied, and now we see the t-shirt and the pegs, Michelle, are blue. He has to use the pegs with the prosthesis, not his other hand.
Exactly, not with the human hand, he has to use it. He has to use the prosthesis for his task. And this great house is so small. They are so small and they are so hard to grip. How many points do we have here? It's like 15, right? 15 points.
He needs these points now. Hangs up the jacket, but it's the buttons, which again, he cleverly, there's a lovely shot of camera angles of the 2-joint prosthesis that Boucher is working with there. We're going to see this in complete action when you have to work those things. Let's quickly go over to Indian. This is team, this workshop team, and Alan Matthew is the pilot there. We're about to see him and his prosthesis work those blue pegs.
And the prosthesis looks very, wow, it looks very functional. And great color with the orange. Looks like a kind of Iron Man hat. Yes, I guess he just switched all of the different grips. He can switch with and that's allowed actually. So he can switch as much as he wants. He's not allowed to touch the blue part of the parkour with the hand. But on the other hand, actually he can move his prosthesis as much as he wants.
Still looking for his first points. Look at the graphics to the right of your screen. He's picked up a red in challenge 1. Breakfast. This is challenge 2. Laundry. And he's just having a little difficulty to get that look on the second free break. That is great work from Alan Matthew. Now he's just got to hang up that hoodie and he's able to move on. Perhaps the Indian pilot here picked up his first point for it's already on conference. Yes, that is so good to see. Now he moves on to clean sweep. This is another very tough challenge, Michelle.
Very tough with the pencil, it's quite tough, but he has to do very good. Because I tested the parkour as well, like 2 months ago, and I have huge respect for those pilots. They're doing a great job.
He's only been working with this prosthesis since many of these pilots have been working for years and years. And again, we see the adjustments. And let's quickly go over to Germany. This is Simona Klima with a bad
I guess that's kind of secret. Because they, of course,
What
It really does, but what is intriguing she's gone through the play from that side in Germany. And Michelle, I'm also fascinated with the pad that she's pressing there. Tell us more.
Yes, well, I can just actually
picking up on the phone.
it's so
Was it a phone or was it the
I guess she can
That's interesting. I didn't know we could do that.
whips.
Touchpad control is the first time we've seen this in the competition of Cybathlon 2020, and it's working well. Simona Klima from the Technical University of Munich.
She's very calm. And doing like,
They've obviously split it lots too, because they've got to move with the music.
Yeah. Now the
Two-finger grip seems to be working well, particularly in this clean sweep challenge. 16 points if the German pilot is successful. And I'm intrigued that she decided to miss the first 2 challenges. The rule book tells us if you miss them, you can't go back. You've got to keep going forward to breakfast, laundry, clean sweep, home improvements, tactic box, and standing because this prosthesis for Simona, hand control, 2-finger grip, seems to be working well. Let's go and try it. And this is the hands-on team from the University of Science and Technology in Shandong. Now we see 1 red, 1 green, 1 red, 15 points on the board for this is so tough, Michelle.
he can turn the wrist like 360 degrees.
Yeah.
So he has.
Maybe that's like that wrist time.
Actually, he has a green. He has a green one at the scoreboard. A green.
He's got some sort of upgrade.
Yes, he did the second cast.
That is impressive to say the least. Now, how many this is looking very good indeed. Keep your eye on the clock, Michelle. He's over 4 minutes past the halfway point, but he's on the 4th pass home improvements. Now, let's see how he works those scissors. Fascinating piece of machinery. This prosthesis, so far so good. Struggling a little with the scissors, maybe.
Yes, the scissors are quite tricky to have a tight grip, actually.
where's the banana?
And close them. And to cut the paper, it's like a carton. It's like a thick paper. It's not like this big ones.
Oh, good.
Tactic. He's folded the paper into 3 places. And he looks to move on, and he gets a second green light, moving up to 32 points. Very impressive. Now, this is the new discipline, the new test for 2020. It's called the haptic box.
Yes, I love to call them magical box, magic box, but because you never know what's inside. And it can be quite surprising, and he has to, feel actually the object, if they are like hard surface.
Cheating. Very important, Michelle. So far, so good. Green. 62 points on the board for Rehab Tech. And this is Colin Rossi working through this haptic box, which is all about feeling the prosthesis rather than just looking.
They are so fast. You see, they doing it not for the first time. They practice all the time. And they're like kind of expert for this task. It's amazing.
This is one of the new developments within the prosthesis. How difficult is it to feel when you cannot see?
Yeah. Okay.
Not as good as go, man.
Yeah, they don't want to show us.
The haptic box is an expert.
It's quite difficult, it's quite tricky, because sometimes you have like a signal, like a PlayStation joypad, like a signal, so you can feel the object, if it's hard or soft or whatever, but it's not usual to have this integrated in the space.
Same technique, right?
But I mean, it's really every single thing is moving before that, even with the prosthesis rather than looking. Now he's going to have to build a pyramid. Once he's turned all of these loop cups, and I say loop cups because that means he can only use the prosthesis to build this pyramid. This is impressive, I have to say, from Colin Rossi, who's only had one of the tests or tasks go wrong. That was the haptic box. If he can finish this will be an impressive performance.
That's not bad.
So he cannot take too much time here.
Yes, and it's almost all green.
And even small fun.
So 2016 it was the 10th Liberty. They are very similar.
Yeah, so
You did a great job. That's impressive. 80 points score. It's got a common points for 1 and 2 opera teams from Sweden. Now this is ex-opera, and there is also E-opera. Now Tony Forsberg, Campbell, at the first of the 6 fights, that Campbell. And he uses the almost joint of the prosthesis to cut the bread. Now the tin, remember, if it's blue, you can only use prosthesis. If it's not blue, then you have to work together with the more human.
It's like a collaboration of the human and the expertise, so the natural hands.
Michelle, what's fascinating about this prosthesis to the bone?
Yes.
Very much
usual life. It's not very unusual.
Yeah.
Unusual that I saw this only 40 years ago.
It was a funny story. He watched the Cybathlon 4 years ago on TV and decided this was a competition for him. And as this competition gets bigger and bigger and more global, every holding of the event, Tony Forsberg, I think, will be one of many that watches and says, do that and better that. This is tricky. Zipping up the hoodie. Look at this. What a great close-up from the camera.
And they are very, very driven. They really want to win the title. You know, it's not just for pleasure. For them, they are very competitive with each other.
Yeah, that's clever, right?
It should be like this. It's not just the Olympic spirit, it's to be there and everything. They want to win the title.
Was there not so much before?
Well, he's successful with breakfast, 14 points and green lights, and both these quite successfully. And everything to be hung up on the line. First the train shoots away, the back to Broadway. Let's go to the 16. Watson, has already put 15 points on the board, struggled a little, but this is fascinating because we see a changing of the prostheses, different grips for different challenges, and he changes them so quickly, Michelle.
So quickly, he has a carbon shaft actually, and a black one. And he has like, as you told us, he has like different grips for different skills. Everything is like already. That's why he's so super fast. And
Here is the University of every officer. This is a very fast and effective, efficient work. There go the keys on the hook.
He is so calm. He is like, he's doing it task by task, step by step. Not nervous.
The original video.
Michelle, dare I say it? This looks like a Swiss Army knife. Every little piece has been thought through. Everything is taken care of. Even with a credit card. This is very fast work from the Swiss bike. Oh, that's the first mistake.
It's like a it's like a MacGyver hand kind of thing, you know, MacGyver hand.
So he gets a good point score for the third challenge. Now, on to home improvements. Hammer is blue. He can both use the prostheses. Does he need to change the tool?
I think the grip is tight enough, but it has to be very tight. And now with the scissors, he changed the whole hand actually. Okay,
That is fantastic. And that truly is something very special indeed. It's the speed that he changes the hands and the grips that is so impressive. Now he cuts the scissors, or cuts through the paper, I should say, with the scissors, but the scissors are blue, so only the prostheses cut through the paper into 2 pieces.
Yeah, it was quite super. You have to change the hand. Just quickly change the hand for another task, and it's quick. We did it. Okay, we switched.
Hectic box.
Is already got 14 points on the board for successfully completing the breakfast challenge.
Yeah, look at
The hunting box. This is a great story. Low cost is really what it's all about for this South African touch hand team, making prostheses available for those that don't have huge resources but still need the possibility of working with such a valuable tool. And look at this, the South African doing extremely well in a hunting box.
Right. Exactly. It doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, if it's out of the 3D printer or whatever, I mean, it should be, that's really crucial to give hands to everybody.
Let's keep patronize us.
Well, as Michelle has called this, the challenge of magic boxes and just touch, and then try and match all of the pieces on the table to what you feel inside the box that you cannot see. I think this is a fantastic new addition to Cybathlon, and also pushing the boundaries of development within these prostheses for the arm. And has the South African got them all correct? This is a valuable point score. It's the highest point score of all the 6 tests, 16.
He did a great job. Very nice. And it's so tricky. This one, I would say this one is one of the trickiest tasks of the whole parkour. Because it has nothing to do with quickness. It has to do with, you have to be very gentle kind of thing. And not to guess, to feel them.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's just as easy. It's just as easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now the pyramid, with the pyramid, let's see.
Now, Longeli for South Africa now has to just complete his stacking of the cups to a vertical pyramid, and his challenge is over. This has been a good performance for the South African touch hand team.
in the mood to talk about the race, and we saw.
Shut up, let's watch us.
They're really competing, giving it hard to each other. Exactly, they're very driven, and I think it's a good thing because at the end it's very serious, and they take it really. They not take it for granted. They really go for it. And there's one scene you actually mentioned it also when you were commenting it, and we have a look at this scene again. It's the scene with the Swiss guy. You said the Swiss knife guy, something like that. Let's have a look at Swiss Army knife guy. He's changing actually the prostheses while competing. Exactly like a knife guy or kind of hand, yes. Is this a real one? Something that exactly, they are hands like this with different kind of hands. You can change them for different tasks, and it makes absolutely sense, yes. But you need a lot of tools to bring a suitcase, and you can take a suitcase, maybe. We see that he has different ways that you can put a prosthesis. It's not like the hand or the something else. How important is it how the prosthesis look like? I think it's very important, especially for kids or children, teenagers as well. It's very, very crucial. It's very important to adapt the prosthesis actually. So the look is crucial. Of course, the functionalities as well, but they like to have a good looking kind of hand. And two people hold you hand as well all the time. Yes, and it looks like a kind of science fiction hand or a magical hand, and especially the children, they ask me all the time, do you have superpowers with those hands? Or with those hands, with this hand? And I say, yes, maybe, and they all think, oh, you must be a superhero. Everybody wants to do a fist bump with exactly a superhero hand. Now, before we find out what for the teams made to the finish race, what are the best for teams to do hand over the race, don't run away too far. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Mein Name ist Michel Fornasier. Mein Name ist Fornasier. In dieser Hinsicht ist EKZ für mich ein verlässlicher Partner.
EKZ, stolzer Partner des Cybathlon.
Cybathlon moves people and technology. Schultes Clinic is medical partner.
Mobility, getting to different locations, having accessible vehicles, and just integrating into the community. And this is key. Disabled people need to be part of the community to feel wanted and needed in that community and to feel part of life. We need to meet other people and be engaged with other people and compete with them at the same time.
Welcome back. We're in the middle of the second competition of this year's Cybathlon, the Powered Arm Prosthesis race. And if you want to find out more about that discipline, if you want to find out more about the teams and the pilots, please visit our website, cybathlon.com. There's a lot of information about anything you want to know about Cybathlon and the technique behind all these things. Now, before we keep going on with the race, I want to show you what expects you in the next hour, because there's not only the arm prosthesis race, but we also have something more for you.
Despite our feature, functional electrical stimulation makes it possible A bike race between riders with paralyzed leg muscles. The functional electrical stimulation bike race in the next hour at the Cybathlon 2020 Global Edition.
I'm looking really forward to that bike race, a really special race we're gonna see in the next hour, but we keep going with the arm prosthesis race. I still have with me our expert, Richard Fornas here. We've seen different types of prosthesis, and the pilots control their prosthesis with their nerves, with their muscles. Can you explain how that actually works? How do you steer with this?
Yes, right. Actually, with muscle contractions, we have like two different kind of electrodes inside the shaft of this arm or the lower limb. And with muscle contraction, we give like signals, and so we can open and close hand prostheses. But there are different ways to do it, and of course, the labs they have sometimes it's a little bit a secret. Of course, that's their secret. But in the normal or the usual way, it's like with muscle contractions.
You have a very fancy prosthesis, so you can open it and close it. Can you do something?
Yes, I have like 25 different grips on my mobile phone actually, and so I can activate them. For example, I can have different grips just to grab popcorn in the movie theater. That's quite important. It's a little bit loud, but it works fine. And for example, to ride my bicycle, I have different grips, and yeah, there are 25 really daily task grips which I use.
Is there something you really cannot do with your prosthesis in daily life?
Yeah, there are a lot of things. For example, climbing, it's a little bit difficult. I would be not the perfect climber in a way, but we are working on it with different labs as well to give people this opportunity to enjoy the mountains on the wall, actually.
Very nice. We have quite a few teams competing in that powered arm prosthesis race. And here's the team from Germany.
I'm actually most excited about the opportunity to train our licensed testers. Now, our pilot.
Das ist noch einiges dazu zu machen dabei, aber ich denke, es wird sehr gut verwenden sein.
It's really good to train out with very muscles because we have key sensors inside. So you can try with the smartphone. We have a lot of different nodes which you can use.
It's really nice. It's very easy to use, and we're really excited for the opportunity to be in this competition. We were talking about that model, especially just before, and it's really special, that model. What do you think about that term?
With the backpack, yes, I was super excited about it. It looks a little bit like Star Wars they have as well, but it looks very unusual with the backpack, and I thought it's a great innovation as well.
Now, how everybody wins, or actually competes in the arm prosthesis race, we're gonna look at the summary right now and find out who are our 4 top teams.
What a wide variety of models. The powered arm prosthesis race is a real eye-catcher. The prosthesis come in a variety of shapes, colors, and sizes. But the goal is the same for all pilots, to solve as many tasks as possible. Depending on the model, creativity is also required. Or in other words, a plastic bag. French team Smart Arm uses a plastic bag for the task with the stretcher, so that pilot Christophe Boucher can get into the sleep easily. This is a clever solution. Others, like the German team Cybathlon, that was given this task. Simona Klima's prosthesis, which was developed by students in just 1 year, struggles with many tasks. And Simona also has to carry a lot of technology in her backpack. This prosthesis by Beat Grossen from the Swiss team EFH Youth is also exciting. Beat is the only pilot who can change the hand of the prosthesis. So he can choose his prosthesis depending on the task. The task in which the pilots use very different strategies is the final task. Here, the teams have to stack cups. And here, we see the whole variety of strategies. The pilots use completely different methods depending on the prosthesis. But the biggest challenge in the whole race is the haptic box. This was really expected, because this task is new in the program. Here the pilots have to detect hidden objects with their prosthesis. This requires a lot of dexterity. Many mistakes are made in this task. The Italian team Rehab Tech, for example, gives away a place in the top 4 in this task. The quartet in the top 4 is absolutely impressive, including Elena Shukova from the Russian team Supermotorika. Elena stepped in very short term as backup pilot and solves the task in a very clear and concentrated manner. With breathtaking speed, Ruslav Milic is on the job. The pilot of the Croatian team, Nickerman, solves the tasks incredibly fast. With his speed, he qualifies for the top 4. But is he flawless? Maria Fossati, the pilot of the Italian soft and pro team, has an impressively flexible prosthesis. She also makes it into the top 4. Maria is very skilled and very fast. Is this the mixture that brings her the victory?
We know top 4.
Magnus Niska from the Swedish E-Opera team also made it into the top 4. His prosthesis looks very similar to a biological arm, and Magnus seems to have a lot of feeling with it. Will he be the winner? Here is the ranking. 3 teams just missed the order, Krumislav Milic, Maria Fossati, Magnus Niska, and Elena Shukova. Who will win?
You said from what country? Russia.
Great job of these 4 teams. Michel, how surprised are you that those 4 teams made? I was quite surprised, of course, but I love the ranking actually. And a big honor to all those people, and they train so hard, months and months, even years, I would say, and huge respect.
We had like days.
For teams that are in the last 4 teams, the Croatian team, let's have a closer look.
What was the story? What do you team get? They're in the top 4. So it's not the long
That's and using prosthetics and improvement agile and work with it. What's unique about our team is that the hand is envisioned to be a big open source project. The hand is also very affordable to produce. It costs about $30 to make the hand. You're man. $35, very competitive team, and they trained a lot. That's what I've heard about them. Michel, this year there's a new task. It's the haptic box, or you call it the matchmaking box. What's it doing? I mean, you have to feel something between prosthesis. Can't imagine how it works. Yes, it's a really tricky task actually. Sometimes you have to move the head. How to get it from, if it's in which shape they're coming, or maybe you have some signals in the prosthesis which give a signal if the object is like a square or another shape. But it's a tricky one, and it needs a lot of feelings. Actually, you have to feel the object, not to grab it. Do you have that in your prosthesis? Not yet, not yet. No, we are on the way to do it, but it's maybe more resistance. I'm looking forward to Before we go along with the presentation, I'm sure you've noticed that all these power outputs these they need an electric motor. And Maria Fossati is a soft-hand pro team that travels to Switzerland and visits the company who actually produces the motor for their prosthesis, which is actually Maxon. And to find out that Maxon produces motors for many different assistive technologies, that was very exciting also for Maria Fossati.
The Slender sportswoman has worn a variety of different prostheses since her childhood. Inside her hand, you can find a Maxon motor, light but still powerful. The crew are looking forward to visiting the world-leading manufacturer of drive systems near Lucerne.
We are really curious about meeting the Maxon company today. I really wish that today we can discuss about the prosthetic users and about how motors can be developed.
Maria's specifically when she managed to get her hands across to CEO Eugen Elmiger, who gives the warm welcome.
Thank you very much for being here. This thing has been I would like to show you the manufacturing place in our factory where the motors are produced.
Development engineer Robin takes it to the production line. Maria's impressed.
Yes, I've never been in a place like this.
Maxon's products are not only used in a variety of medical applications, but also in NASA's Mars rover. They are extremely durable.
They never burn a motor, so it's good.
CEO Eugen Elmiger spends the entire afternoon in the development lab with the crew. They discuss ideas. He asks questions. How does the prosthesis work with just one motor? How long did it take before she could operate a prosthesis?
Did it take a day, a week, a month?
A minute.
A minute?
Yes.
And the motor doesn't get too hot?
Also, when you bend shape, you can just feel it more. But very cool. This is nice.
Then comes the question Maria has been waiting for.
What would you like to change, or what would be your first wish to change your mind?
It's to stop really the noise of the motor, if it's possible. When I was on a taxi, side by side the taxi driver, and suddenly I looked the end. The taxi driver was like, what's that? What's the noise? Because if people don't know that we're wearing our prosthesis, I feel a little bit creepy about hearing this kind of noise. So noise, maybe it's possible to do something in your life. Yes.
This is something which is very important. We had a meeting at the exchange of experience with Maria, Manuel, and her team was very exciting because we could get real feedback from the users and we can produce better products for them.
And perhaps Maxon's global success is also down to the fact it likes to embrace new, interesting ideas.
And hope we can send you a Christmas gift by the end of the year with some new solutions.
Thank you, really, thank you.
Thank you so much. I wish you a very nice journey back to your development. Thank you so much.
Maria Fossati, part from the Italian team, who actually is winning the 4 first teams. And I'd like to introduce you now to Roger Gossett. He's a professor at ETH Zurich, and he's a vice president of the strategic board of Cybathlon. Very sorry for that. Roger, we just heard Maria, who is actually a little bit doesn't like to noise. Is it even possible to make motors without noise? Well, first of all, good evening, Stefan. It's really a pleasure to be here. I found that very interesting because that's definitely not the first thing we would think of as engineers, the noise of these motors. Now, I'm not a motor specialist. I assume that it's very challenging to make the noise go away. Otherwise, they would have motors already that are completely noiseless. But again, I find it, I think this is really a great benefit of an event such as the Cybathlon, that we shift the focus and the attention also to these details, which as you use these technologies more in daily life, become critical. And I asked Michel, for example, if you have prosthesis by yourself, is the noise really a problem for you as well? Or you have to change the microphone so that, yes, sometimes it's annoying, but as Maria told us, it can be quite challenging when it's very a silent location. Of course, you just said before, in cinemas, it's very bad. That's kind of the area people look around, and it's annoying kind of thing, but then you stop moving the fingers, but it can, it shouldn't be like this. But, it has to be improved, of course, yes. We saw the prosthesis of Maria, which is quite a smooth one, very soft one. Is that something that interests you? Very much, yes. I have contacted Maria as well and her team on Instagram actually, and I'm looking forward to find solution and synergies. Yes. So the thing about the noise, inclusion is a very important topic of Cybathlon, and the noise is actually against inclusion because if he's too noisy, I don't want to sit next to him. So noise is a big topic actually in this field. It's actually very interesting. So of course the examples we made are, you can identify with this. If I'm not prepared, for example, with the exoskeleton teams where things you cannot feel the legs walking with exoskeletons, they actually find the motor noise beneficial because it lets them get a feeling for what their legs are doing, where they are, so they can focus more on walking. But of course, at the end, if you want to, this to be used in daily activities anywhere and not be disturbing, yes, noise becomes a big issue. It's down the line, we have a lot of challenges before, but it's great that we start talking also about aspects like this. I know the noise of it from my electric bike. Where does it come from, that noise? Very technical question, of course, but what does the sound? That's a challenging question for me. So I'm guessing there are different contributors to that. There's the way you control the motors, there's commands, the way you send the current to the motors. There's friction in there, so there are parts moving against each other that can make noise, that may even lead to some squeaking. And there are probably a couple of other components that I'm not even thinking of now that I know this is technically very challenging, and of course there are many other applications where it would be nice to have motors that are less noisy. But I'm sure Maxim is working on it and all the other researchers on the work. Now, ladies and gentlemen, inclusion. That's a big topic for Cybathlon because people with physical disabilities, for them it's very important to be part of the society. One way to support inclusion, of course, is to show prosthesis to a wider audience, such as in this example. It has a little bit to do with Michel, but have a look at yourself.
Mein Name ist Michel Formassier. Für mich kann die Zukunft rechts bekommen.
Ich gebe dir mal was zu tun.
Das hatte natürlich man ich habe Trainingssachen eingeschrieben. Die Leute mussten auch, dass ich ein professioneller Schauspieler intensiviert habe.
Even without practical experience, Michel is the ideal protagonist for EKZ. On the set of the Cybathlon video, humanity, technology, and living are combined. Michel, who was born without a right hand and who supports young people with prostheses with his Give Children a Hand Foundation, is the perfect ambassador. This state-of-the-art bionic hand is technology that EKZ can also identify with.
Die Hauptprothese von Michel misst die Gleitsbewegung seines Handgelenkes und die 12 Motoren zu steuern. Dafür braucht es Sensorik und Digitalisierung. Dasselbe gilt bei uns im Energiebereich. Das Zusammenspiel von selber produzierten Photovoltaikstrom, starke Infrastruktur für Elektromobilität und Wärmeversorgung braucht eine hohe Vernetzung und ein hohes Maß an Digitalisierung.
Stefan Meyer sees a lot of innovative potential, especially in smart homes.
Smart Homes sind sehr digitale Lösungen. Ganz stark das ist eine Technologie, die seine sicher zu legen, bevor man auch in die
And what was it that impressed Michel the most about the whole shoot in relation to innovation, living, and energy?
Dieser Autofahrer, wo ich zum ersten Mal mit einem Tesla noch dabei fahren durfte, hat mich auch sehr beeindruckt und inspiriert. Und ich hatte sehr viele Wow- und Aha-Momente heute und ich werde heute sicherlich ganz innovative Träume haben. Michel Fornacier is a little TV star. I said, Michel, how much fun was it? It was super fun, yes. We had a great team, a great day, the weather was nice, everything was super, with the support, everything really nice. And actually we saw in that clip that you are also a Swiss Army knife guy, because you can change your processes as well. Exactly, yes, I have like multiple tasks and multiple hats available. It's a perfect conclusion. What would it be for you? A barrier, actually. I mean, we are all the same, and we are no aliens or people with disabilities, so treat us the same way, and I think that's the way to do it. It's just to be united in one world. That's a very nice word. Watching also that advertisement, is that a good sign for inclusion, or is it just a good marketing idea to put prostheses as an eye catcher into an advertisement? Well, there are always different ways to look at things, right? But for me, I think the important part is really to make people aware and also to talk about it, bring up these topics, look at them from different perspectives. And in this video, it's sort of like it's something on the side, it's not in the center. And that I think is also it's exactly what inclusion is aiming for, right? It's just a part of a bigger theme, and it integrates with all the rest. Did you look at arm prosthesis race? Did you like it so far? I greatly enjoyed it. I was really impressed by so many things. I mean, the team spirit, of course, the technologies as an engineer, that's what fascinates me. But I also really appreciated the changes that have been made to the tasks, which I think really challenged the prosthesis. Because as we've seen a lot in many of the videos before, is that it's still mostly a supportive arm that helps the intact hands do the complicated tasks. And here this is really being challenged more and more, and I hope that will really push forward the technology as well, so that prosthetic hand also becomes more useful and available. Very good. We have quite a few teams competing against each other, and one team is from Russia. Let's have a close look.
Victory Oasis, one person without a hand or this event is inspired and changes his life.
Samo tebe quando attacchi e pensiero no, andare proprio di sofferenze di intelligenza, però
Yeah, we've just seen Lena Shukova, the pilot from Russia, and she was she came very shortly to the team and had to do the competition. Now, Michel, how good were they today in the endurance? They're all very good, as I told you. They greatly experienced, they had a huge success with the training, and they built out the whole parkour at their home as well, because now they have to. But they are in top 4 now. So, yes. I think we have a good, there are a lot of options to win the title. Then, what do you think? Who's going to win? Your tip. I have a tip, but let's see. See, Roger, Gossett, what do you think? What will be the team at the end? It could be any of them. It's such an advanced interplay between the technology and the pilot themselves that it's just, I think, impossible. I wouldn't. Croatia, Sweden, Russia, and Italy. Those 4 teams will compete, and we want to find out. And of course, they're actually watching us right now, because all the teams that recorded their races at home, and they don't know who will be the winner. So let's have a look. Here they are, all the teams from all over the world were back home sitting on their sofas and chilling and relaxing now since they've done the races. And they're really excited to find out now who will be the winner. So let's go to that race and let's find out who's the fastest in the Powered Armed Prosthesis race at Cybathlon 2020.
The countdown has started for the Powered Prosthesis race with Moscow on standby. Croatia, the Maker team. Sweden, the Opera with Magnus Nishka, and the University of Pisa with Maria Kostati is off-hand bronze. With Elena Sukova, who goes to the first of the 6 challenges. There are 100 points to be scored. You have 8 minutes of time. Michelle, for me, the toughest of the tough, I believe, is the breakfast and gentle problems for Sukova right at the start of the challenge. This is a nightmare for the Supermoto Rica team.
Yes, she has problems with the jump actually. It looks like it's stuck in a way, or like the wrong way, maybe. But it's important to be focused.
Species, and she's trying again. All of the equipment is the same for every one of the teams. If you look to the left of your screens, Mihic for Croatia, Nishka and Fossati of Sweden and Italy are already away, working their way through all of the challenge. But for Elena Sukova from Moscow, she has had to skip the first challenge. No points. Early leader on screen. Maria Fossati for Italy and the University of Pisa. She's into the laundry where she'll have to zip up her hoodie, hang up her t-shirt, tie the laces, and hang up a training shoes.
It's very sticky. It's to get it in. And this is some use of plastic bag. Actually, for example, another plastic bag.
All right, very quickly. It's Maria has to use the prosthesis arm, and this is good. She's leading, and she's leading 4 seconds clear of Sweden, 2 seconds clear of Croatia, with now way behind the first stage. The Italian moves on to clean sweep. We go to Magnus Nishka of E-Opera at Sweden at the Topberger University. The edge just 4 seconds off the pace and looking very quick and slick.
It's very close. Yes, it's a head-to-head race. Actually, he's quite calm with those things. Really fine. Yes, here's a green line, 2 green line for Croatia as well here. With the third task.
There are 3 teams out there, Michelle, that have all got green lights. The red tells us they are making the same penalty. It is all clean so far, but the leader is Fossati. She's 29 seconds ahead of Mihic of Croatia from the main hand team here, who we're looking at on screen. Look how he bounces that ball. He can only use his prosthesis arm.
Exactly, well done. All those tasks. He's so, he's so here. And there's a lot of
This is the moment with 17 points, still 45 points behind. 2 points for Maria Fossati and Sofia Berg. She is our current leader. She's a powerful player. 3 chances to go. Let's go to Magnus Nishka now. E-Opera and Sweden. Look at the clock. 3 minutes 27, but the first quick point score. 29 is just finishing up clean sweep. Green behind this lady, we do the first time, Michelle. This is 4 errors, and he's just finding it with the scissors.
That's nervous, actually. But she's still leading. She's still leading, and she's doing a great job with the scissors. She has to
Now the Croatian is picking up. Remember, he's only 20 seconds down, and Mihic has got it down to just 10 seconds. If he can work quickly through the home improvements and And fast position with the next challenge to Happy Box. Good. So the next on the leader from Italy, that is Maria Fossati. Immediately goes into the Happy Box. Now, Happy Box is all about feeling. Fossati looks to be losing the ball here because we can see that he is in the Happy Box stage. Fossati just struggling a little bit with that right ball. There she goes, the Italian going into the fatal penultimate test is now behind the Croatian. This is Miska. He's in his third position. And Russia out of the chase. But this touch, this new task, the Happy Box, really is quite special.
Yes, exactly. It's Croatia. He's the leader right now, right? It's leading.
But this challenge is all about touch. This is all about touch, not visually. And that is the new one for 2020. It's the final challenge.
That's green at the bottom.
And it's going down to the wire here. It will go down to the last. You have to turn all of the blue cups over with the prosthesis hands and then the pyramid. And it looks like the Croatian. So the Mexican team that has the slight advantage now. And if he can just get these the pyramid, it will be a Croatian as Jordan Mijic.
Yeah, it's got forward.
Full marks 548. That's the same.
On the final three, and that is a great Andre Kukic there, cannot believe it. The head of the Mexican team is 7 gold. And Fossati, just to the left, is finishing off that final challenge. Italy are looking good for silver. This is the tough story for Russia with Elena Zukova. Well, off the pace from the very get-go of the race, but finishing it nicely. Magnus Niska, look at that. Perfect score on every one of the challenges. Just not exactly from the Croatian winner. Here's Maria Fossati, Italy, looking good to take second.
What's the 645? That's an okay.
Silver medal. Well, actually, gold medal for the best female.
That is a great performance, but maybe she'll be a little frustrated to let the Croatian just steal the gold in those last 2 challenges. But what a great performance from Maria Fossati to take silver. Sweet with Magnus Niska. Perfect score, 100 points, and keeping it under 8 minutes, which is what I like very much indeed. Elena Zukova, good performance for Russia, who go 4th. It is Magnus Niska who takes the bronze medal for Sweden due to the error from the Russian team at the very first stage. Gold for Croatia,
Just 3 teams to 100.
and then bronze for Sweden.
Absolutely amazing. What a great competition. Congratulations to all of the 4 top teams. And we see them here sitting in front of their computers watching the last few seconds of the race. And you saw them, how they cheered when they saw that they were first, second, or third. The best, the winner of this of the race is Krunov Milic from Croatia. And we see him now. When he realized that he will be the winner, let's have a look what's his reaction. They don't know yet, they're still waiting if he will make it or not, and we miss it all. Anyway, so Croatia is winner of this forum prosthesis race Cybathlon 2020. We have a look at the graphics one more time to see what teams are first, second, third, and fourth. First is Croatia, as I said, so the Croatians with Milic. So it's changing all the time. That's the live TV. We have the graphics. Now it's third place Croatia, then we have second place Italy, Sweden, team and then the Russian team with Elena Zukova. Congratulations to all those teams. great efforts, great performance from all Jim. And I want to go to to like.
It's actually a good point. You should get your push-ups, you know, like.
Very excited that's it was I was saying that you could do everything. That was just a perfect race today, was it? So we talked to the engineer, what did he say? How much, okay, you should ask him, how much did you train for this race today?
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
How many hours did you do training for the competition?
We only had 40 hours of training because we could never match up. We were in separate lockdowns in Netherlands and in Croatia.
But did you know, that's impressive, only 40 hours of training, but did you know already during the race that it's a good race?
Yes, we knew.
Okay, they're happy, they're first, and congratulations again to Croatia, to Krunoslav, Mihic, and the whole team. Well done, thank you very much. Michel, what do you think that was really a perfect race? Was a perfect race, well deserved. Congratulations from my side as well, but it was awesome. Yes. What impressed you the most about the team? Well, first of all, it was really impressive race, very close, and I really like to congratulate all the teams. I think what impressed me now with the winner, and they don't know who is going to win, is this trade-off between finding the right level of complexity and robustness and functionality. And it really made me think, 4 years ago, before the first Cybathlon, we did a scientific symposium, and a colleague of mine there said, what we need to do is not develop high tech, we don't need to develop low tech, but we need to develop just the right tech. And I think this beautifully illustrated it again. Very nice work. You saw actually the competition. How is it for you to watch these guys compete? Well, you know, as with any competition, you really get in there with the teams and you get nervous and excited. It's just super fantastic to see, you know, on the one side how things have evolved since 2016. Now, and also what the challenges are just each maybe we can address with your team or teams. Thank you very much. Let's go back to Michel. Michel, when you watch these pilots do that, wouldn't that be something for you as well? To compete inside?
Was it not the project in the
person actually, you know, the competitive spirit is like there's a this and maybe sometimes in 2024. Thank you very much. Michel, thank you for being here, for being our expert. Very much. And thank you also. We're gonna see you later in the show again. And this was the second competition at this year's Cybathlon. Our motivation is great. This isn't it yet. So we have more to come for you. The FES race, the functional electrical simulation bike race, which is a fantastic competition. So make sure you do not run away too far. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, let's see you now. I'm going to start this stream.
That will save the full thing on your YouTube at the time, yeah? So that's